Okay, last time we started our discussion of good web design, and what this will lead into is a discussion of what you need to do for your project. If I can summarize the discussion last time in just a few sentences, I would say that good web design goes beyond a page simply looking good. There's more to good web design than simple aesthetics. While that's important, we certainly want the website to look pleasing. We want it to look good. All right. We want it to look professional, typically. That's not the be-all, end-all. That more important than how it looks is how in line the website is with the goals of the organization and the goals of the people using the website. All right. So, we talked about Google being one of the best designed websites, even though really not a lot to look at. All right. But it's simple. The task that most people come to that website to do is easy to do, and it does it well. So therefore, it would be a well-designed website. So, well-designed websites don't happen by accident. They happen as a result of careful planning, of understanding why people are going to be visiting your site, understanding what their goals are, understanding what your goals as an organization are for creating the site, and then creating a site that's in alignment with those goals, a site that has the necessary content to help achieve those goals. So, that's what the design process that we're going to cover in this class is about. First, identifying the goals. Part of identifying the goals is identifying people that are going to be visiting the site. Typical groups of people that are going to be visiting the site. And we define the goals for each of them. Then we look at defining what specific content we're going to put on the pages to help achieve those goals. So we're going to have a list of requirements of all the things that we're going to put on our website that's going to help achieve those goals. We then decide how we're going to organize that content into different pages. All right? We're going to put everything on one page? Probably not. Are we going to have a separate page for every little piece of content? Also probably not. We're going to figure out what belongs on what page, and we're going to organize the content that way. We're then going to look at the structure of each page. How is each page going to be laid out? And then finally, we come up with a prototype or a model that says, all right, this is our rough draft of what we want the site to look like. So, I'm sure you've all read through the assignment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it and I'm going to hit the high points about the design of the site. So if we look down here under project, we have a project overview that really doesn't say a lot. You're going to create a small website. You get to choose the topic. I want it to be open-ended. Pick a topic about something that you enjoy. All right? Hey, I'm not going to pretend that this project is fun to do, but might as well make it a little less of a grim activity, right? So pick a topic that you enjoy, because making web pages about that is probably better than making web pages just about some specific topic that you've been assigned. All right. We will not have an opportunity to develop for a nonprofit organization, so forget that. The final project should be 6 to 8 pages, each containing a reasonable amount of content. All right. The goal of the project is to create a site that's technically sound, well-designed, and effectively communicates the intended message. All right. So, the site's going to be done in 2 parts, 2 assignments relating to the project. The first one is the design, and that is due April 8th. And then the final completed project is due May 13th. What's due April 8th is a document that describes your plans for what you're going to do on this site. It's a design. Part of the thing that's due along with the design is a prototype. And think of a prototype as being a rough draft of the site. So you're going to create 2 things for the first phase of the project, the design. You're going to create a document that explains what you're going to do in your website, what's going to be on it, how it's going to be organized, and then you're going to create a prototype that says, well, this isn't finished, but this is pretty much what the site is going to look like. All right? For the final version of the project, you will turn in a completed website, set of pages, set of HTML pages, CSS, images, everything that you need. All the files that you need for the website. So, let's look at the design part in detail. Because remember, the design part, you're not turning in only HTML. You're turning a Word document that's going to talk about what is going to be on the site, in addition to HTML that's sort of a rough draft. So, the design consists of 5 sections. The first 4 of them will be in a Word document. The 5th section, the prototype, will be actual HTML files. The first section is called the strategy section. If you remember, we came to the conclusion that a well-designed site is a site that makes it easy for users and the organization to achieve their goals. So, before you can do that, before you can build a site that allows users to achieve their goals, you have to define what your goals in creating this site are, and what are going to be the goals of your visitors. All right? Now, in order to do that, you have to define who your target audience is. But really, your target audience isn't just one person or one kind of person. You're going to have several groups of people that could be visiting your site, all who have maybe similar goals, but maybe slightly different goals. All right? We call those groups of people personas. You're going to actually make up fictional people and talk about what their goals are, all right, based on who you think are expected to be using your site. We talked a little bit about this last time. We said, for example, one of the kinds of people that would be visiting Lorain Community College's website might be a high school senior who's looking about where to go to school next year. All right? That's one group of people that could be visiting the site. Now, what might some of their goals be? High school senior visiting the site, what might some of their goals be in visiting Loring Community College's website? Yes?
Find out classes available.
Yeah, find out classes or find out programs that are available. In other words, if I want to be in the medical field, what are my options? What are my choices of programs that I could go into? Because I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know I want to work in healthcare. All right? So a prospective student might want to find out what programs are available that meet their interest. And they might have a pretty good idea what program that they're interested in, or they might not have so good of an idea. We get that a lot in the CISS area. You have someone who is technical, who likes working with technology at home or in high school, and they know they want to go into some sort of technical field, but they're not sure initially if they want to go into programming or web development or networking or what. So finding out what programs are available would be a goal of a prospective student. So that would be one persona, and that would be one of their goals. All right? Finding out information about the cost of attending school here. Right? If you're thinking of going here, you know that's one thing you want to know is how much it's going to cost. All right? Maybe you want to know what other opportunities there are on campus besides classes. Are there on-campus clubs or intramural sports or whatever? All right. Now, someone who's currently a student might have similar goals, but they might have a little bit different goals. So someone who's attending here might already know what program they're in, but needs to know what classes do I need to take to get my degree, to finish up my degree. What kind of job can I get with the degree that I'm looking at? And something like, when does summer semester start? Questions like that. People in the community that aren't attending classes might want to know what non-credit classes are available. They don't want a degree, but maybe they just want to take something that they find interesting. Or when the Friday film festival, what's going to be shown this week, all right? What events are going on at Stocker Center, and so on. So you define goals for each of your personas and for you as the creator of the site. All right? Now, I've arbitrarily picked 3. I've picked that you should have 3 personas, and each persona have 3 goals, and the organization have 3 goals. Now, there's nothing magic about the number 3. I just thought that would be sort of a bare minimum that you would need to have to understand. A larger site, you're going to have many more than 3 personas. We could list probably a dozen different kinds of people that are going to be visiting Loring Community College's website. And each one of those might have a half dozen different very important goals, or maybe even more. All right? But for this, you're going to define 3 groups of people, and you're going to define the 3 goals for each of them, and then you're going to define the 3 goals for the organization that's creating the site. So, for example, if you were to do a website for a band that you're in, who are 3 different personas? Who are 3 different kinds of people that are going to be visiting the site? All right? And the band itself. Why is the band making the website? What do they hope to achieve? All right? Now, one thing to keep in mind is that goals should relate to the content that you're going to have on your site. Goals shouldn't simply be explaining good web design. For example, it's not a goal to say this site has clear navigation, right? It's true, your site needs to have clear navigation, but that's not why you're building the site. You're not building the site to show off your navigation creation skills. You're building the site to provide information to certain groups of people. And what information are those people looking for? That's what the goals are for the site. So let's think of a band. All right? What are 3 different groups of people that would be possibly visiting a band's website? Let's just say a local band that plays in this area, plays the clubs. Yes?
Would they want to maybe hire them for,
Yeah, no, you're right.
they'll hire them for to play somewhere?
Yeah. One group of people that might be visiting a band's site might be club owners, people throwing an event or a party or something that wants to hire a band. All right? So their goal ultimately is to look and say, hey, is this band going to be good for our event? You know, does this band play the kind of music that our people like? You know, for example. Do they sound good? Are they, are their fees reasonable? And so on. So that would be one persona that you would create. So you would create maybe an event planner that is planning a wedding, all right, and is looking to see if if this band is suitable to be hired. So your goals might be to see the kind of mix of music that this band can play, to get feedback from other people that have hired this band, and maybe get an idea of the cost of hiring this band. That might be your 3 goals. What might be another group of people besides someone interested in hiring the band?
Recording company scout.
Possibly a recording company, right? New talent scout that's scouring, looking for information about a band to see if they're suitable for their record label. Yes?
Is one musician looking to join a band?
A musician looking to join the band. Right. What about a fan of the band? Someone that has heard this band before and likes them. Wants to know maybe A, where they're going to be appearing so that they can go and see them again. B, maybe buy recordings or merchandise from the band. All right. What about someone that doesn't know the band, that just happens to see that they're going to perform at a local club? Maybe their friends said, hey, we saw this band last time they were in town. They were pretty good. You want to go with us to see them? Well, you might go to the band's website to check them out, to find out what the band's about. Now, all these different groups of people, they sort of have a little bit different goals, but they're related, the goals. There's some overlap between what one group of people want and what another group wants. What you do then is you define for each of those groups what the goals are. All right? And you define for the organization. In other words, why is the band creating this website? One might be to sell more merchandise. One might be to get more jobs. All right? A third reason might be to get better attendance at the jobs that they do take. All right? So there might be any number of goals that the band has. In this section, what you do is you write a brief paragraph explaining giving an overview of the site. You describe the three personas, the three different groups of people, and you describe their three goals, and then you describe three goals for the organization. So when you're done, that's what you have. A description of a paragraph description of what the site's going to be about, the three personas, in other words, the three groups of people who are typical users of your site, and then from the organization's perspective, what the goals are, as well as the goals for each of the personas. So that's what the section should contain. Now, when you define a persona, you actually spend a little bit of time and effort on it. You actually get a person's picture. All right? Remember, you're allowed to use it as long as you give the source of the picture. You give them a fictional name. You give a description of the person's scenario. This persona I made for a website that a coach might have for their summer basketball camp. And one of the personas of whom I'd be visiting that might be the father of a kid that wants to play basketball, right? A lot of times parents send their kids to summer camps for any variety of different things, and this persona is the father of someone that wants to be a basketball player. So the goals. Help the son learn how to shoot shots that he himself doesn't know how to shoot. Find drills to improve the son's skills. Help his son learn to shoot with both hands. Those might be the three goals of this person. Now, there might be other groups of people that are going to be visiting a site about a basketball camp. Maybe other coaches want to send their team to a summer basketball camp. So another persona might be a coach of a youth team that's looking for a good summer camp to send their team. Maybe a player themselves are going to look for a camp to suggest to their parent or coach about attending. Pretty much no matter what your topic is, it's really not hard to think of three groups of people that might want to be visiting that site. It might seem hard, but it really isn't. And if you get stuck, then we can talk about it and I can help you come up with three. Even something that seems simple, like a restaurant. Well, gee, what kind of people visit what restaurant's website? Well, hungry people, all right? Well, there's different kinds of hungry people, right? There are people that might be looking for a restaurant that's suitable to their dietary restrictions, all right? Maybe there's a member of their family that has specific food allergies or is a vegetarian or follows religious dietary restrictions or whatever. So that might be one group of people for a restaurant, people that have dietary restrictions. Another group of people might be people planning an event, all right? We're all going to go out for Charlie's birthday. Will this be a good restaurant for the gang to go and celebrate Charlie's birthday? Another might be a family. Is this a good place to bring all the kids to? And so on. So even on the simplest site, you can think of 3 distinct groups of people that would be visiting that may have slightly different needs. Their needs will overlap a little bit, but they're going to have slightly different needs. We could Google and we can find more examples of personas if you need more assistance with this. Just Googling website personas. And there's a little definition here. They represent a major group for your website. Express and focus on the major needs and expectations of the most important user groups. In other words, the goals. Give a clear picture, and so on. So, here's an example. All right. Might be a little hard to see. It lists the goals here, the frustrations that they have with certain aspects of maybe other websites, influence, frequently used apps, and other characteristics. You can find a bunch of these if you do some searching, if you need sort of some suggestions. Here's one. I use this almost every semester. All right. This is, in this example, they're developing a website for a shoe company. Well, Brandy represents people who have very specialized needs. All right, as far as shoes go. She has very narrow feet. All right, she needs 4A with shoes. All right, and she finds it frustrating because a lot of places don't have shoes that fit her. So, she's going to share some characteristics with anyone shopping for shoes, but she has those special sort of needs that are a little bit different, a little bit out of the box, out of the ordinary, compared to most people shopping for shoes. So when you're developing a site, and she has listed her goals here, you have to think about what you're going to put on your site that's going to help her accomplish these goals. Now, obviously, you can't do this for every individual in the world, right? This person has very narrow feet. This person has very wide feet. This person has long feet. All right? This person's got Fred Flintstone feet. All right? You can't do it for every person in the world, but you can identify a persona that represents people that have very specialized size requirements. Right? Because the frustrations and the goals that she has probably matches the frustrations of people that have really big feet have. All right? And so on. So here's a list of her motivation, goals, and so on. And what they've done on this one is they've gone and they've actually found real-life customer comments that sort of could have been said by this fictional person. So, that's the first section.
Goals for the site. Identify target audiences, 3 personas of different imaginary users with their motivations, goals, and frustrations, and a prioritized list of project goals.
Exactly. Along with a brief overview of the site. All right. The next section is the scope section. And the scope section lists requirements for the site. And again, these requirements aren't going to be just general statements about good web design. Like, it's not a requirement to say that the website's going to have good navigation, right? That's just an assumption. The assumption is that your website's going to be well designed, all right? So you don't have to put as a requirement, well, let's make the website well designed. The requirement should relate specifically to the content that you're going to put on the site that's going to help achieve the user goals. So getting back to the person with really narrow feet, what's something that you could put on the website that would help that person achieve their goals of being able to find shoes that fit? Pardon me?
I said a Zappos link.
Exactly. Well, the ability to search by width, right? That would go a long way in helping this person find shoes that fit. All right? So they're not looking through a whole bunch of shoes and trying to figure out, gee, does that one fit my really narrow foot? So give them the ability to search by width. That would be a requirement. So the goal and the requirement sort of match up. The goal is to say, I have unique feet. I have special needs as far as shoes go. I want to be able to find shoes that meet my special needs. That's the goal. That's what the person wants to get out of the site. The requirement explains how that person is going to try to satisfy that goal. Well, for the people that have special requirements for that, we're going to include width as an option when you search for shoes on this site. Is that the only way you could help out someone with narrow feet? No. You could come up with another way to do it. All right? What's another way that you could help people that have narrow feet find shoes that fit them besides having a search option?
Well, I've seen some sites, every time you go to a shoe, it will then list what sizes are available for
Yeah.
that specific shoe.
Yeah.
So I then don't have to search them all.
Okay, that might do it. Just show for every shoe the width options that are available. That would be one way. What would be another way? Well, we could have a page, especially for people with narrow feet. All right? We could have a special feet section on our website. Here's people that have big feet. Here's people that have small feet. Here's people that have skinny feet. Here's people that have wide feet. And each of those pages would only show the shoes that meets that criteria. We can come up with a number of different ways that we can satisfy someone's goal. Our job as a designer is to figure out what the best option is. What would be more useful? Just to show for each shoe the different widths it comes in? To give the ability to search by width? To have a separate page of just narrow shoes? I don't know. In deciding which option you're going to take, you would consider the persona and try to put yourself, pardon the pun, in their shoes and try to decide what would make the most sense for people like that, right? Let's go back to the band. One of the personas we said on the band site would be someone looking to hire a band. And their goal is to decide if this band would be good for their event. What are some things that we could put on the website that would help that person make a decision about whether the band was suitable or not? Yes?
Put some MP4 files of some of the band's music.
Okay.
Listen to.
Okay. You could put audio files. All right? You could put MP3s. With MP3s, you could either put complete songs or you could put excerpts. All right? Instead of audio files, you could put video files. Right? And again, you could either put videos of performances or excerpts from performances. What is another way that we could help someone decide whether this band is suitable or not?
You could have a page detailing their prices, what songs and types of music they're willing to play.
A song list. Here's the songs that we typically play at weddings. Boom. These songs look good to you? And again, you could combine these. Maybe for a couple of the songs you have an audio sample. All right? Would contain prices. Absolutely. Maybe would contain reviews or comments that people had. You know, we hired this band for our wedding and they did a great job. Or maybe even references. Provide references and say, that might not be something you'd want to publish on a website, but if they inquired, maybe you would provide a reference. All right? The point is that any goal that exists, you can satisfy that goal several different ways. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to use all those methods. Your job is to pick and choose which methods best help achieve those goals. So your job during the requirements phase is to look at the goals and decide how you're going to help fulfill those goals. What specific content on the site is going to be used to satisfy those goals. Now you don't want overkill, right? You don't want to put 100 video files out there, all right? You want to carefully select, all right, what is going to be on the site. One thing that's definitely true about web development is that adding more content doesn't necessarily add value. For something like this, it very well could be that 2 or 3 video clips is all you need. You don't need 100 video clips. All right? Just a couple of them, maybe at different sorts of events. All right? Maybe different styles of music to give the person an idea. So what you're doing in the requirements phase is you're defining what you're going to put on the site to help achieve those goals. Now, the requirements and the goals correspond to each other. It's not a one-to-one correspondence. Because one requirement might address many goals. All right? Both students and community members for Lorain County Community College may need to know the hours of the library. So if you put one of the requirements is that you'll have a page devoted to the library that says the hours that it's open, what days of the week, so on and so forth. That's going to solve potentially a couple different goals. Students and community members. All right? So one requirement might satisfy several goals. Now, a goal might actually be satisfied by several requirements as well. So it's not a one-to-one correspondence. So letting someone know, or helping a party organizer decide if this band is good for their event, you might include video clips, and you might include testimonials of people that hired the band. Those are two requirements, two pieces of content that you put on the site that are going to help satisfy one of the goals. So, it's not a one-to-one correspondence, but the goals and the requirements match up. Think of it this way. If I have a goal that I've defined as one of my most important goals, and I don't put anything on the site to help satisfy that goal, then something's wrong, right? I've identified something that's very important to an important group of users, and yet I'm doing nothing to satisfy that. That's a problem, all right? The opposite is also true. If I have something I'm putting on the site, but it really doesn't satisfy any of the requirements, then maybe I don't need it, right? For example, professor biographies. You know, I don't know if anyone would want to read my life story before deciding whether they want to come to the Loyang community or not. All right? So maybe my biography on the site wouldn't really satisfy any goals. In which case, don't put it on the site. Remember, anything that you put on the site has a potential for distracting people from the parts of the site that are important to them. So if I put a bunch of stuff on the site, even though it's not really necessary, all it does is clutters and makes the site harder to navigate, harder to find the stuff that's really important. Okay, so we have our strategy section that has the goals. We have our scope section that has a list of requirements, which again are specific pieces of content that are meant to satisfy one or more goal. The next thing we're going to do is a structure. And with a structure, that's where we decide how we're going to lay out the pages. All right? Any website, you can lay out the pages any number of different ways. All right? Your job when you're developing a website is decide what's the most logical, what's the most reasonable way of organizing stuff into different pages that my users are going to understand. All right? Now, you have choices. You can do this several different ways. Let's look for an example. Here is a hypothetical website for some organization. They have a home page, they have a government section, a news section, a special report section, a policies section, a statistics section, and a service section. I'm imagining that this might be a website for some government agency, for example, the way that it's set up. All right, because government agencies perform services, they have statistics, they have policies, news, special reports, and government. Is this the only way that this site could be organized? Of course not. There's a bunch of other ways that you could organize the site. How do you decide the right way to organize it? You look back at your personas and try to figure out what would make sense to those users. All right? Maybe, for example, special report and news, you decide to combine them. What's really the difference between a special report and a news story? They're both kind of the same, right? A special report is just a certain kind of news story, I guess. So you create a chart that looks like this. Each one of these blocks represents a page. So this site would have 1, 7, 16, about 23 pages on it. You have to do only 6 to 8 pages. So most of your diagrams are going to be fairly simple. All right? But you still need to decide how you're going to separate the pages. Here's another example. This is almost impossible to read. This is a home page for someone that is a physical therapist. They have a home page about that will let you know the qualifications of the person, what services they provide, portfolio, a blog, and then how to contact this person. This is a website, this is a structure chart for a website about a conference. A home page, how to submit a paper to the conference, how to register for the conference, what the program would be, information about the conference, location, and contact. Now again, are there other ways to organize this? Absolutely. For example, some of this stuff, like about the conference and why attend, might belong up on the home page here. I would think that would be something really important to cover. At any rate, what you're going to do is you're going to create a chart that looks like this. And you're going to explain why you chose to divide it that way. All right? I figured that this makes sense to my users because of this, that, and the other. All right. That is 3 of the 5 parts of your design document. We'll review this on Wednesday, not on Wednesday. We'll review this on Thursday, and we'll finish up the last 2 portions of this, and we'll go from there. Are there any questions? All right, we'll see you in lab.